you do find quite a lot of repetition, and sometimes it is just repetition of individual lines, or sometimes you'll find rather longer repetition where Zeus, say, will tell somebody to bring a message down, and then the message is brought down and you get something like the same lines again. And some of that could doubtless be explained, if you wanted to explain, in terms of oral composition, props to the memory. Some of it could be explained in terms of oral performance as well, but it's usually quite a good idea to explain things several times if you want them to stick in people's minds. But it's also very interesting to see how things that may look as if they're pure repetition may not be quite, but there's subtle variations. Possibly it may be suddenly something is given a very striking new turn. The favourite adjective for Hector is in the Greek korythaialos, Hector of the glancing helmet. And if you see vase paintings of these wonderfully crested helmets, and you can imagine the sun, the hot Mediterranean sun glinting off them, you can really get the impression of this fantastically impressive crown prince in his very regal armour going into battle. But one of the most moving scenes in the Iliad is where he comes to face with his wife Andromache and their small son Astyanax. It's probably only a very small toddler, probably only about 2. It's a wonderfully moving scene between Hector and Andromache, but it ends with the child Astyanax being afraid and shying away from his father in the helmet. Helmets are for frightening, but not for frightening your own child. And then Hector takes the helmet off, a wonderfully intimate moment, and it's normally translated dandles his son. It's the word in the Greek is often used of brandishing a sword. You see these soldiers being put to me by a soldier's wife. Have you ever seen them with a toddler? They pick them up, they throw them around and wave them in the air. They love it. And that marvellously intimate moment is all built on that single epithet. But you can also see that there are times when it comes back just a little bit differently. Agamemnon, at one point, sending an embassy to Achilles, ends his message to Achilles by saying, "And let him yield to me, just as I am the more kingly person. I'm his superior to him." Odysseus is the man who takes the message and very carefully leaves that bit out, and an audience who's used to this sort of thing may notice that. Odysseus is more intelligent than Agamemnon. He knows what needs to be suppressed. Or at the end of the Odyssey, when Odysseus gets home, he's got rid of the suitors, he's in bed with Penelope, he tells her all the things that he did, except not quite all. He mentions a certain amount of his encounters with women, but he simply mentions that Calypso wanted him to stay there, doesn't mention certain other things that he and Calypso got up to, and doesn't mention certain other things that he and Circe, the witch, who after had a disconcerting habit of changing his men into pigs, but then eyes him up and down and say, "Oh, you look pretty fit, how about some sex?" These sort of things tend not to come out in the apparently repetitive moment where he's talking to Penelope. So there's a lot going on.